So it is October 24th, and we are less than 2 weeks away from Election Day, and now we get a lot of controversy. It's so interesting how yesterday on the 23rd that all these reports about Trump grooming that model allegedly and it being blown up before any video even came out. Them blowing it up as if, especially on X and some of these other social media outlets. You see everyone talking about, oh, Trump did this, it's allegedly. And before even the video came out, which is just kind of crazy. But, this is where we're at right now. And then at the end of the night, I realized it was more like a distraction that Harris was going to be in CNN in that town hall meeting. And I'm lucky that this morning I woke up early to see it. But what a clown show. Like, she really can't answer questions. This is the most unqualified person to ever run for presidency. And I know people are going to say, oh yeah, Trump, what about Trump? He's at the very least competent, and he's like almost 80 years old. We still have a president that no one sees anymore. We have a president that the Democratic Party lied to us in his conditions. Like, I challenge anyone to tell me when was it that Biden was no longer competent to run this country? And it's very hard to determine that because we saw the things happening. We saw the signs earlier. 2019, we were seeing it. We were seeing how he was getting tripped up, and it just got worse over the last couple of years. I think since 2021 rather. That's it. He stopped running this country. We've had a president for 3 years or so now. We've had no active president for the last 3 years now. This guy has been seen now. This guy is nowhere to be seen. This guy, he's a disaster. The worst president we've ever had. And then we have this incompetent woman here who I think is worse than him. Because at the very least, Joe Biden, you say what you want about him, but if he wasn't senile, he's more than capable of answering questions and debating people, and is very somewhat informed that, all the decades that he worked in politics. But this lady, I don't even understand how she even got into office. Like, how did she get into any of these positions? It's not as if she didn't have to go in front of media outlets before or get all these interviews. But it looks like she's so inexperienced. She's incapable of answering questions and being very direct. Don't get me wrong. Like, a lot of politicians be lying all the time. Everyone lies. That's just part of the game in this industry. But not the way that she does it. Like, Nikki Haley, this neocon Nikki Haley, she's a terrible human being too. She's in the Republican Party. And at the very least, when I see her talk, she talks well. She talks informed. Even if she's lying, like, she sells it off, in a way that might not come off as someone who's incompetent. And I'm gonna keep using this word because if I start saying dumb, she's really dumb. This lady, Kamala Harris. But anyway, even someone like Nikki Haley, even after getting destroyed by Vivek Ramaswamy, she at the very least sounds competent. You know what I mean? This is the worst person ever. I don't understand how anyone really in the right mind can be like, hey, I'm going to vote for Harris with pride, outside of the fact that you're just trying to vote against Trump. And if that is the case, then I don't know what else to tell you, to be honest. Because when you have someone that's been persecuted the way he has the last couple of years, a lot of the propaganda regarding some of the things that he says, taking the things out of context the way that they have, it sounds more like the Democratic Party is working really, really hard just to make sure he loses, as opposed to electing a qualified candidate to run the country. I mean, I said this before too in my other video that the Democratic Party had no campaign. There was no election. There was no one voted for anyone. Bernie Sanders didn't run. Elizabeth Warren. What's her name? Elizabeth Warren, whatever her name is. She didn't run. Kamala didn't run. Tulsi Gabbard didn't run. There was no Newsom. Newsom ran, and then he had to drop. He dropped out. Not that he had to. He dropped out because I'm sure they worked it out among themselves and said, "Hey, we're just gonna leave Biden there. This is our plan. We're gonna leave Biden there. It doesn't look like he's gonna be able to last another 4 years, but at the very least, if we're not fighting against each other, we can unite. Let's let Biden run, but we got to figure out a way to stop RFK because RFK is causing a lot of ruckus, and RFK had to go to court and sue the Biden administration for some of the things that was going on with his campaign, whether him getting protections and whatnot, and it being a fair election, but it wasn't. Pretty much, he dropped out, became ran as an independent, and then eventually endorsed Trump. We look at these people, like the fact that the Democratic Party had no one to run in place of Joe Biden just tells me that they purposely did that. They purposely wanted Joe Biden to run so that the next year, if he did become incoherent, you can just drop him and put Kamala Harris, and that'll be fine. That's probably this is their game plan. And I think the only person that set this, there are two people that set this that I'm seeing talk about it, or rather the videos are resurfacing, is Vivek Ramaswamy and I forget this other guy's name. He's a big debater, Jewish guy, Republican. He has his beef with Candace Owen, but yeah, it's really pathetic. Like, this is the candidate that's representing the Democratic Party. She's terrible, and the Democratic Party chose this. This is the person that they wanted to represent them. This is the person that they wanted, and they didn't even allow the people to vote for this person to get in. So now the Democratic Party is stuck with this incompetent person, and according to the polls, which I don't really follow polls at all, or at least not enough, she's getting blown out. And the moment she started dipping, like she had her peak where it was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be close, and now, and she wasn't doing no interviews during that time. And then, like a week or so later, when the polls that everyone's referencing started to show that Trump is taking the lead, like steadily, then she started doing all these interviews. And at least at the very least, I commend her doing these interviews, but she doesn't want to do it. She does a terrible job. That whole Fox interview with her, Fox, even Trump does not like Fox News. And Trump has had issue with Brian, I forget the anchor's name. Trump has bashed that dude multiple times because that dude was very hard on him too. But I just feel like you guys supporting Kamala even more after that interview just doesn't show anything. It just shows that you guys are willing to accept that she's just an idiot. She's just an idiot. There's nothing bright about this woman. And now we have, I'm trying to remember what I was trying to get at, but now she's doing all these interviews, and she's done a lot. At the very least, I give her that. Even though 60 Minutes started cutting out some of her editing, some of her as they say now, word salad responses. They started editing that down, and the more interviews she does, it's like the worse it gets for her. It's almost as if she's not qualified for the position. No one wants her. Everyone, probably the Democratic Party, really thought that this lady who's black presenting, all right, was going to get enough backings from the minority community, and felt like because she's a woman, that would have been enough to rally against her. That would have been enough for Gen Z and millennials to rally against her. But the reality is that no one cares that she's of color, and she's a woman. We just care that if she's good enough, if she's qualified to run, to do the job, and she's not qualified, And I know I've got, in the last video I got a lot of people saying, even hitting my DMs, that they didn't even want to comment or even like my videos. And the ones that didn't, that saw it and choose not to respond to anything like that, that's okay too. The real people that show love will show love, and they'll do it regardless. But there were some people that didn't want to show love to the video, and they would DM me. They DM'd me and said, "Yeah, I just didn't want to. I'm still a little afraid of coming out, and not putting like, not necessarily endorsing Trump, but more like saying like, hey, I'm voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Kamala, and here's my reason why." In my opinion, I think it's kind of weak. But I think you're being soft, in my opinion. But I don't blame you if you feel like certain things are not gonna work out in work out your way, whether it's friends or family. But I just feel like if friends and family do love you, they're not gonna care that you vote for Trump or Harris. I think at the end of the day, it's your option. I mean, it's your choice, right? So everyone needs to respect that and move on. And if you want to have a nice debate about it, then have a nice debate about it. But yeah, man, like, I've had multiple discussions about this the last couple of weeks. And if we get this lady for another 4 years, like, this country is going to continue to just get worse. I truly believe that in the next couple of years, if this lady, Kamala Harris, is elected, that's it. I think we will be in another war, in a world war for sure. The economy is going to get worse. I truly believe that inflation is going to skyrocket. Right now, it's already hard to buy groceries and stuff like that. Utility bills are skyrocketing as well. There's so many things that's going on where it's like, hey, I'm barely scraping by week to week, and I've had the discussion too. Like, this is the difference between Donald Trump's economy and Joe Biden's economy. For the most part, I'm gonna say, like, talking about the housing market. For the most part, in those 4 years that Trump was president, interest rates were about 4, more or less, 4 to 5, more or less, give or take. Towards the end, and when it dropped down to high 2s, which is probably would never go down ever like that again. But this is how I compare. No matter what, and people get it. Oh, it doesn't matter what president, because you still have to control. You still have to do things in your life to put yourself in a better situation, and it's very true. No matter what, no matter who's president, I'm gonna be good. Me and my wife are gonna be good. And I'll say for the most part, me and my family are going to be good. But that's not the issue, though, right? This is the difference. If Trump president was in the last 4 years, here's the best way to explain it. The difference between Trump economy and Kamala, and why, even though me and my wife will be good no matter what, but we would be better under the Trump administration. Like, me and my wife do very, very well for ourselves. Very, very well. But it still doesn't mean that we can just go out there and do anything that we really want, at least not in the United States. So what I mean by it is this. In 2020, me and my wife, we locked in on a great interest rate, 2.99, just under 3. Bought our first home, we renovated it. Thanks to some members of my family that helped me out and a lot of the process. And so a lot of things worked out that year. But then the following year, we got out of some debt because we paid a lot of things to do the construction. But we got out of debt. We switched jobs. We raised some more money. Or rather, saved some more money, and then we essentially did this where we got engaged, right? But we were looking to buy another house in 2021. We couldn't because the interest rates were like 6 something. And then the market was just increasing, very, very high. Very, very high. The market was increasing. So we said, you know what? Let's look at the Dominican Republic. So we went to the Dominican Republic. We saw some plans, and then we invested in the villa in the Dominican Republic. We said, okay, we made our investment for the year. Outside of like stocks and crypto that we invest as well, but we did that. Fine. 2022 comes around, and then we're like, okay, well, we have to invest in something else, right? Like, what are we investing? So 2022, we're looking, and then it turns out that the market is even worse. The market is even worse than 2021. And what I mean by worse is that in 2022, if a house was worth $500,000, right? Obviously, you got to put your down payment, and then you have to pay for closing costs. But and let's just say you're putting 5%, which comes out to like $475. You're gonna have a mortgage on $475, and $25,000 you have to put down. Let's call it even like that. But what's happening was that even though and just keep in mind that the bank will only give you a certain amount of money based on their evaluation of the property's worth, value. The property value of the home. So if they believe that the property value at most is worth $500,000, that's the most they're willing to give you, and they won't even give you that. So they would probably give it like $470 or something like that. So houses were being appraised for lower than the selling price, and people had to pay the difference. So if the house was only worth $500,000, and the bank is only willing to give you $475, meaning at the very least you're gonna put $25,000 down, but the house were being sold for $525. So you had to come out of pocket an extra $25,000 just to be able to buy the home, because the bank was not going to approve you for the difference. So people went $50,000 in plus into these homes, even though the value wasn't, even though the bank weren't willing to pay the difference in the cost. So people were going in deeper in out of pockets to pay for these homes, and they're in the hole. They're in the hole. No matter how the market goes, like, they're in the hole. They overpaid for a home, and that was their market everywhere, almost everywhere. At least in New York City, that's how the market was everywhere. So that doesn't make sense for me to invest. Like, for that, I'll go invest in the Dominican Republic, and that's what I did. So I went to the Dominican Republic, and I bought an apartment. I went through with a couple other people, and that was it. I bought an apartment in the Dominican Republic. Then 2023, we're like, okay, we gotta invest again. So, and don't get me wrong, later on that year, we were planning on getting married, but during the process of 2023, we just didn't know where yet. Not really, anyway. And or maybe I'm mixing up the dates, but whatever. In 2023, we were on our way to buy a house in New Jersey, and we were even in contract for a house in New Jersey, a multifamily house. I forget where, and we had our down payment set. We were ready. We got a pre-approved for a loan. They accepted our offer. We got into a small little bidding war. And then I forget how much. I think the house was worth about $700,000. And then the interest rates, I was looking at, pretty much when I broke everything down. After we put our down payment down, and the house required some renovations. Granted, we were hopefully calculating that with some renovations here and there, that the rental income was going to, we're going to leave there at least making a couple $1,000s a month. Then it turns out, so, we're making these numbers, and I'm like, okay, well, based on if the bank approves this much, and then we put down this much, our mortgage is going to come out around this. I think the mortgage was supposed to come out like $5,000, and then there was 3 apartments there. So each apartment was going for like $2,000 to $2,400, if I'm not mistaken. So at the very least, we'll probably make $1,000 or so. And I was like, you know what, that's fine. Build on equity. I could depend on rental income. Continue to get and find another way to get passive income. And then it turns out that and we already agreed on everything. So now when the bank did their appraisal, the bank was like, oh, this house is not worth $700,000. This house is worth $650,000. Or something on the line of that. And I'm like, okay, well, let me go back to the seller and ask them if they want to negotiate the price. Bring it down, because to be honest, I'm not paying no extra $50,000 difference. I'm just not doing that. And the seller was like, nope. And we kept negotiating, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna buy this house. I'm not gonna pay an extra $50,000 to buy this multifamily house. I'm gonna be at a loss. This market is just not good. So we didn't. We backed out and we left. So in 3 years, me and my wife tried to buy real estate. 3 years in a row. We tried to buy real estate in the United States, or at least in New York and New Jersey area. And we couldn't. And it's not like, and I know people are going to say like, oh yeah, but maybe you didn't make enough. Listen, to be frank, between me and my wife, we do very fucking well. If we were to look at the 1%, like we're right there. We're pretty much right there. Yeah, maybe we're in the top, at the very least, we're in the top 5% in the United States, right? And that doesn't mean that we're making millions of dollars. It just means that in terms of net worth and then income, we are right there. So it's not as if we didn't have money. It's just that we're not willing to lose money on an investment that does not make sense. So for 3 straight years, we bought in New York, Queens. Then we bought in Dominican Republic. Bought in Dominican Republic again. About to buy in New Jersey. And we said, you know what? F it. We're not gonna buy this house and be down $50,000. Let's just get married and let's just have a wedding. So we spent almost 40 grand on a wedding in the Dominican Republic. Great time. Over 100 people came, which we weren't anticipating. We were blessed. So we were rather have a wedding. We have a good time, than buy a house and lose $50,000, and then probably deal with the headaches of renovating, dealing with tenants when you're not even winning much. So now it's 2024, and I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's see how the market is doing again. The same BS, but interest rates are 7. Interest rates are 7, 6, 7. So like, what you're willing to pay for a home, or rather what you're willing to pay for a mortgage, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And don't get me wrong, we were mainly looking for multifamily homes, but then we pivoted and started looking at single family homes where they had basements, and maybe we could fix up the basement and then rent it out, and that way it could just make up the numbers could make sense. But even then, single family homes were also pricey. And single family homes seem like the better way to get into investing in real estate, because it's just easier to get approved for a mortgage compared to a multifamily home. And this, not to get into it, but there's a lot other, there's a whole nother process in terms of like, if you could afford it, you can afford it, but does the bank think you could afford it? That's the real issue. You got to convince them, and you have to use their numbers. But I digress there too. You look at it and I'm like, yo, 2024, let's look at this. And I'm looking, and I couldn't find anything. I just couldn't. And don't get me wrong, I didn't spend the whole year. I just couldn't find anything. I just didn't see anything. And I'm like, yo, I might just have to go back to the Dominican Republic and invest again. So I did. I bought in the Dominican Republic. Me and my wife bought 10,000 metros of land in the Cabrera area. That's equivalent to like a little over 100,000 square feet. Right? Due to another cousin of mine, then another cousin of mine. Anyway, we got the deal done. Within a month, I kid you not, right? I've sold 20%. Within a month, we sold 20% of it to 2 different people. We sold 10% to each person. So we sold 1,000 meters to each person, and we doubled it. We sold the price for double of what I paid for in a month. Now, the how the payment goes in the Dominican Republic is a little different. Like you write a contract. They pay you monthly for it, but let me tell you, they've paid every single month. Every single month, I'm getting a nice passive income coming in, and it's helping me pay the dude off, which I have a contract for another year, another 6 months. So I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in another country, in the Dominican Republic, when I feel like I probably should be spending at least half of that money here in the United States. I can't even do that, because even if I do that, if we do that, or rather, if we do that, we are just losing money. And I'm not about losing money. Like, if I'm going to lose money, I'd rather spend it on something stupid like actually, a Rolex wouldn't be a stupid investment, but I'd rather spend it on something stupid like the Cybertruck. And anyone that knows me knows that I want the Cybertruck. I'll spend on a Cybertruck. F it. Like, it would be cool to drive that around New York City or anywhere else. it would be cool to take that to Dominican Republic. But this is the difference between the economy of Trump and the Democratic Party. Is that they make it very difficult for someone like me who's actually contributing to society by buying homes, because the public sector has no way, has no proper planning to solve the housing crisis. And what I mean by housing crisis is affordable homing. And the affordable home in New York there's nothing affordable in New York. Even the Housing Connect apartments, like you gotta maybe make it almost six figures to qualify for Housing Connect. That's how bad it is. So every single time the government intervenes and starts to control, like, hey, you guys can't, you rich people, you shouldn't be allowed to buy these buildings, and if you do, you have to give it back to the poor and the needy. Okay, so what is the trade-off? Well, the trade-off is that you have to charge them this amount of rent. Okay, but it cost me, if I have to charge them $2,000, it costs me $60,000 to renovate this apartment. Yes, it does. Okay, so if it costs me $60,000, I'm not gonna make back the money until like years in, probably like 3 or 4 years in. So I'm 3 or 4 years in this investment, and I'm not making anything from it. Yeah. All right, so then I'm just gonna leave it vacant. Well, all right, then you leave it vacant. So all right, I'm just gonna leave it vacant and just use it as a tax write-off. And that's exactly New York City. When we say that New York City doesn't have a lot of apartments, they have a lot of apartments. There's a lot of vacant apartments in New York City. There's so much vacant apartments that you can put all these homeless people that are in these hotels, the migrants rather. And all these hotels, you can put them in each one of those apartments and they'll be good. You can. There's so many vacant apartments in New York City. So many. And why? Why are they vacant? Well, because our politicians make it difficult for the middle class and the top that have money to reinvest in communities in real estate, to actually reinvest in this community in real estate. They always trying to regulate something, and it makes it very harder. It makes it harder for anyone else to actually invest. So why would they invest? This city is it's the worst it's been since the 80s and 90s, when we had all the crimes at its peak. It's uninvestable. This city is uninvestable. You have to be at the 1% or have throwaway money, or willing to invest in a property at a loss. And I'm not willing to invest in anything at a loss. I don't care what it is. It has to be something for me to enjoy that I'll buy in a loss. And buying cars is a loss. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. At the very least, I get to enjoy my Tesla. But, bro, it doesn't make sense to invest in New York City right now. And also, I guess what I'm trying, just to wrap this up, like, just to get it, because the economy is so bad on the Biden and Harris, that I had to invest in a foreign country to at least get a return. That's not right. That's not right. And I know people are gonna say, "Oh yeah, but that's not necessarily what happened." You know, inflation or that. Yeah, bro, you guys kept printing money. You guys can print the money. The people that keep saying, "Oh, we gotta tax billionaires," then why you keep accepting money from billionaires? Why are you being a hypocrite by accepting all these money from billionaires? Why? If they're really that much of an enemy to you, why do you accept so much money from billionaires? Most billionaires are more in the Democratic Party than they are the Republican Party. They don't support the Republican Party that much. That's just a fact, right? Outside of Elon Musk, who's doing God's work, this guy, and let me get into him, but he's the greatest innovator. He's the greatest human innovator ever. This guy is brilliant. He's doing everything. He can do everything. In fact, if he really wanted to, he could truly control the world. Truly. But we look at what's going on, man. These billionaires are supporting the Democratic Party for what reason? You know, I don't know what kind of deal they got behind doors, but there's a lot of deals be making. There's no reason why they're willing to willing to support a party that's trying to tax them more. That doesn't make sense to me either. That's just sus. If that doesn't raise alarms in your head, like, you're not really paying attention. There's no reason why someone's going to come to me and say, "Hey, I want to charge you more. I want you to pay for more." And I say, "Okay, here's my money. I'm going to donate to your cause so you can charge me more. That doesn't make sense. Any real businessman knows that doesn't make sense. So it's clear that they got something else in the back door that we're not really paying attention to, that we really don't see, and they're making money elsewhere. That's the problem with this whole thing with the politics, is that all these NGOs, all these companies, all these politicians are making money. Nancy Pelosi should not be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Barack Obama should not be worth almost $100 million. Neither should George W. Bush. Neither should Joe Biden. None of these presidents should be worth tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. There's no way. There's no way that every single president outside of Trump has 5x their net worth. There's no way. There's no way, unless you're doing some shady stuff behind doors. There's no way. Trump is the only president in the last 25 years that his net worth actually went down. His net worth actually went down $700 million from being president. Come on, $700 million. I know some people are gonna be like, oh, he's a billionaire, it doesn't matter. No, it matters. $700 million is still a lot of money. Like, let's not act as if people that don't do well aren't frugal with their money. You know what I mean? Pay attention. The people that are able to keep money for a long period of time is because they're still frugal with their money. So we look at this and I'm like, yo, how does no one ever bring up the fact that Obama has 3 or 4 houses that are worth like $2 to $5 million each? That doesn't make sense either. I don't get it. Nancy Pelosi is a freaking... I just want to invest in all the stocks that she's invested in because she makes money. And she's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. This inside trading is crazy. And all the things that the Democratic Party has issues with the rich doing, they all do it. Bernie Sanders is another one. He talks about, like, Bernie Sanders started off, oh, there shouldn't be millionaires. Let's tax heavy on the millionaires, until he became a millionaire. Now he wants to go for the billionaires because becoming a billionaire is very hard. So he knows he's not going to make it. And he's already old. This is a man that's made millions of dollars. Him and his wife made millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. And his wife also did some shady stuff with getting some funding to write a book that she's never released or published or finished or whatever, the whole entire process of publishing the book. But there's a lot of scam stuff there, and there's a lot of things that are happening there. So I think Bernie Sanders is a fraud too. He's not that bad though compared to some of these other people though. I do believe that Bernie Sanders really does care about what he's fighting for. I think he believes it. I think AOC is not that far off, but there's a lot of BS that goes on with what they be saying sometimes that I look at it and I'm like, yo, are you really serious about what you're fighting for? Because I hear you more talk about these things, even though you're doing these things. But yeah, man, the Democratic Party has they're trying to do all these things, and that's the reason why. Like, I you know what? At the very least, if Trump gets elected, I can invest more here in the United States. I can, and I know that sounds selfish, but I don't care. I don't care if it sounds selfish. It's the truth. I'm contributing more to society and the economy by investing here in the United States than any of you guys that are not. That's just a fact. Even if that comes off offensive or wrong or arrogant, whatever it is, it's the truth. The more money I make, that goes back to society. The amount of tax I get taxed 37%. Me and my wife are paying almost $100,000 in taxes every single year. Okay, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that's going back to the economy a year, just for a couple. Okay, and that's just. I'm gonna be honest. That's just our income. And that's not including, us actually spending money and then, our housing and everything else, right? If you allowed me to invest in more houses in the United States, that money will go back to the everyday person and that will lower cost. But when you try to force things to work out, which is what the Democratic Party does, with all these affordable housing and all these like social plans, you force the economy to not regulate itself. in a way where it's almost like you're just adding money to it, which is what they've done, printing money. You're just going to throw money that doesn't really exist because it didn't come from somewhere. It was just like poof, magically appeared, and expect that that's going to solve the problem. That doesn't solve problems. That just creates more of it. And that's the reason, and this is what's caused inflation. It's the mismanagement of money. You have to let things fail. Listen, no matter what. In 2008, when the market crashed, in 2008, when on the housing crisis, the banks got bailed out. Obama bailed out these banks. No one got arrested for it. No one. I think there was like 2 people that got arrested for it. You should have allowed these banks to fail. That was probably what's gonna be the best thing that could happen to the economy. Let these banks fail. Let these banks fail. If they're willing to be irresponsible in their investment, you should not be bailing people out. Let them make their choice. Let them fail and allow for someone else to take their place and find better solutions. But when you force to find a better solution, you don't actually create better solutions. You make more problems. Yeah, and I'm sick and tired of like New York. New York, what a disaster. What a disaster. No one in the middle class is really proud of being a New Yorker right now. There's no one. Many people that I know that are at the very least making 6 figures don't want to live here. I know though there are those that are like, oh, I love Williamsburg and I love Soho and those other places. I get it, bro. Those places are dope. There's a lot of fun. The food is amazing. The atmosphere sometimes is amazing, but I also don't like rats. I also don't like seeing a lot of homeless people. I don't like seeing drug addicts. I like my streets to be clean, right? And safe. Some of these neighborhoods don't feel safe anymore. It's so crowded, it becomes a little bit overwhelming. And then you just don't know who's here. You don't know who's here. You see prostitution now in some of these areas, and it's like, yeah, I never saw this growing up. Even when it was bad, when the crime was high, I never saw prostitution. You know, maybe once in a while you might see needles on the floor or something like that, but now you're seeing that everywhere. You see homeless people. I see more homeless people now than ever before, and we've spent billions of dollars on homelessness to solve the homelessness crisis. All they did is create jobs. They didn't fix the problem. The problem is going to continue to exist. That's another thing the Democratic Party does. You know, it's very frustrating. And what are we living here in New York for, bro? Like, I'm tired of New York. I know I'm ranting right now, but I'm so tired of New York. I'm so tired of New York. I was born and raised here. I'm a proud New Yorker, you know, at heart. But this city is trash. It just is. You guys have not this city, these politicians that we've elected to run the city. They've done a terrible job, terrible, and it's our fault for electing these people, because we were taught to believe that the Democratic Party was in our best interest, and look where we're at right now. Terrible. Look how hard it is to be in New York. We have that inflation is high, right? So cost of goods are high. We get, before, maybe I used to go to the supermarket and I probably spent $200 or so. Me and my wife would be good for a week or for 2 weeks. Now we have to spend $250. Even that, and sometimes more. And we cook from home all the time. We don't really eat out. And even if we did, when we used to eat out before, it was like, I don't know, let's say 30 to 40, maybe $40 for both of us. We get like each $15 meal, with tax and tip, maybe $40, give or take. Every single time I go out to eat, it's like $100. Every single time. If it's me and my wife, it's almost $100. I don't understand. I don't understand how that happened. It was like one day to the next, oh, this meal now is $20. What do you mean? Bacon and cheese should be $2.50. I'm going to places, bacon and cheese are like $6. How? How is it $6? My water bill in 2020 and 2021 was $100 a month. All right. At most, I've had 4 people in this house living all together. Now I'm down to 3 people living in my home. And it's gone up to 180 in 2024. Explain that to me. How is it that the what? And it's not, we've used less. We've used less. Now we're down to 180. Like last month, we traveled up. We did a lot of things. We traveled, so we weren't in the house a lot. So this month we came, the month of October, or from September to October, it was 140, 130 something. How did it just increase $30 from one year to the next? An electricity bill in this New York City is so expensive. I'm seeing people that live in 2-bedroom apartments in Brooklyn or in Queens, and their bills used to be like $80. Now it's 100, 120, 150 sometimes, 180 sometimes. And I'm like, how? How is it that your bill is so high? Gas has increased. I don't have a lot of gas in my home, but gas has increased. Water has increased. I'm feeling the water. I'm feeling the electricity. So it's like, gasoline got cheaper because election season is around. So, I see it down 2 or 3. That's the best way to tax people more is when gas is high, right? So, by January it'll go back up to like $4 or $5 per gallon. So, what else? Car payment, car insurance. Car insurance is so expensive in New York City. It's so expensive in New York City. Like everyone that used to back in the day go to Pennsylvania or Connecticut and get these license plates, find a home that they can just put their insurance in and come here. I'm seeing even more of that now too. Insurance is so expensive in New York. It's almost as if like, is it even worth having a car? My Tesla a couple years ago was like 160, 180. No, I sorry. That's not true. That was my Honda Civic. My Honda Civic was like 160, 180 a month. And then my Tesla was like 220 a month. And then last year, all of a sudden it went up to 350. And I'm like, what? 350? That's a whole car payment. $350 a month? That's just crazy. $350 a month for car insurance. I had to change my address. Give it a buck. If anyone reports me, go ahead, report me. I don't even care. I had to change my address to bring it down to under 300. So insurance is high. Water, food, going out to eat, and food as in groceries, going out to eat is higher. Electricity is higher. Water's higher. Like, it's just harder. So you have to make more money. And again, like I say this, I'll say it again. Me and my wife are good. It does not hurt us that all these things have increased. So I'm not speaking of a person that's struggling, but I'm still speaking of a person that's frustrated that why am I paying extra $80 on water bill? Why am I paying an extra $150 on the car insurance? Why? Why am I doing that? And that's the inflation the Democratic Party has created. And I believe that if it wasn't for Trump, if Trump was elected, the last 4 years, those investments that I made in the Dominican Republic will go here in the United States. And I probably have like 4 or 5 houses here. That's the difference. And under the Biden and Harris administration, I only have 1. Under Trump, I would have probably had 2 to 5, realistically speaking. And that's the difference. And if you think that that's bad, you're not really paying attention to the economy. Like every single time people invest in these homes and businesses, more opportunities come up, and more people have that ability to make more money and get educated. Things get better. But when you start making it harder for the middle class to succeed, what starts to happen is that things get shut down, businesses shut down. People depend on you, and I guess that's ultimately what the Democratic Party wants. In my opinion, I think the Democratic Party really, really wants people to depend on them. So And I see it, and I see it even in the Dominican community, like how Adriano over here in the Bronx is out here talking nonsense about, oh, the Republican Party is going to take your food stamps away. Listen, I'll be very honest with you. Food stamps, and I've said it before, food stamps, Section 8, these things are temporary solutions. If you have been on these things, these programs for years on end, you are not trying to be better. You are willing to marry the government and allow the government to take care of you, and you should never allow the government to take care of you. The government does not have your best interest in mind, and never has, and it never will. Their only job is to make sure that you are protected, and that you can live a comfortable life. But right now, they're failing miserably. And every single person that's dependent on all these social programs, like outside of the elderlies, I'll give the elderlies a break, but always everyone else, like, come on, bro, pick your ass up, pick it up, find something, work really, really, really hard, and try to overcome any of those challenges so you can put yourself in a better situation. In the United States of America, there's no excuse for anyone ever. There's just no excuse. And if you have one, you're full of it. And I'm telling you, there's no excuse. One of my youngest brother is disabled from the waist down. He has spinal bifida. He was born this way. He's on his way to become a doctor in New York City. And if you think that I talk to him like some kid that's disabled or some little kid, I do not speak to him that way. I speak to him like a man, because that's what he is. He's a man. He's a human being like anyone else. And I'm not going to have pity for my little brother. I'm not going to have pity for anyone else in this world. So you need to grow up here and overcome whatever it is that you're dealing with. And if that's being too insensitive, then so what? This world is not nice. This world is very, very hard, and you have to overcome those challenges. Otherwise, it's just going to eat you up and spit you back out. And like I said, my younger brother, I'm very hard on him. And I expect excellence, and that's it. And that's what I expect. I expect that with all my siblings. I don't want to hear no BS excuses about why I couldn't do this because I was being irresponsible. No, because I couldn't do it because I couldn't achieve something. No, you were just being irresponsible, bro. You didn't work hard enough. You were being lazy. That's it. And yeah, like you look at I'm not gonna say this generation, but it's just because the old generation does the same thing. Why would you work hard if you could get the government to pay for it? That's such a disgusting mentality to have. And Adriano, a Dominican congressman over here in the Bronx, like, he's really trying to make Dominicans depend on him. Like, why? You should want every single Dominican to overcome certain challenges, and we have. That's one thing that and this is going to the Dominican community. That's one thing that I have the utmost respect for the Dominican diaspora, is that I see the Dominican diaspora in all industries, and tech, like myself, the medical industry, like my wife, lawyers, doctors, businessmen, and that's one thing Dominicans are best at. I think Dominicans are some of the best. In fact, I would say we are the best Hispanics in small businesses. Considering that we come from a small island, half an island that we share, and our population is very, very small, and we did it in the greatest city, or at least the hardest city in the world. When you have the ability to capture, over 50% of the deli stores, small businesses that provide a certain service to communities. When you have the ability to capture the supermarket industry, the barbershops, the beauty salons, and restaurants, like who has done it in many of these different things the way Dominicans have done it? And I'm talking about in Hispanics, or at least in the minority community. No one has done it. No one has done it in the side of the world the way we have, and we have such a small population that's doing it. That's what tells me that my people are about that life. And I don't want to hear Dominicans on food stamps and Section 8 notices nonsense. Get your butt, get your ass up, find something that's gonna pay you well, start a business, buy a home, and pass that to to the next generation. That's what you need to do. I don't want to hear no BS excuse. We've our parents' generation has done a lot already. They brought us here, whether you're born here or not. They brought us here. They started all these small businesses. They bought these real estate. They put us in some of the best schools, and they laid out the foundation for us to continue to pass that on. And that's what we should be doing. Otherwise, you guys could just go here and do these bum ass projects, getting food stamps and Section 8. And if you're comfortable with that, then so be it. Then go do that. The rest of us, we're going to continue to pass on that legacy to the next generation, because that's one thing that I appreciate Dominicans, is that we're about that hustle, and no one else is like this. The only other minority group that can be compared to us in terms of those small businesses is Mexico, but their population is a lot more heavier, larger than us. And the fact that we're able to do it in New York City, the Dominicans have captured all those industries. We're the fucking best. I'll tell you that much. As arrogant as that sounds, we're the best. And we still have a lot more things to do. But I want to wrap this one up. I went ranting on probably a little too long. I want to wrap it up with this. Like, right now, they're doing everything possible to frame Trump as this person. I'm already annoyed by this. I want this election to be over already. I want the election to be over already so that we can have Trump in and let him just go to work. And take advantage of any opportunity that's going to allow us to make more money. If you are a businessman or someone that wants to start a business or wants to buy houses, just be ready, because if he does get in, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for you to start doing those things and to be successful in those things. If you're not willing to, if you want to have Trump derangement syndrome, then go ahead, do it. Like, the only thing that you're hurting is yourself, because Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. People like Bill Maher, smart man when he's challenging his side, the liberals. When he comes to challenging Trump, oh, this guy's the worst human being all the time. This guy, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. And I urge every single Dominican, if you're gonna vote, vote for Trump. You don't have to like him. I don't like everything about him either. I actually do not care. I only care is how he's going to make my life better. And if he's going to make my life better, me and my family's life better, then so be it. I know for a fact that Kamala Harris is not going to make my life and me and my family's life better. It's going to make it harder. That's for a fact. And it's our responsibility to vote, to go out there and vote. I don't hear anyone talking about this independence. I'm an independent, so I go, nah. BS. You're going to vote left and right, because those are the two choices that we have. The independent party has already endorsed Trump. So if you're not voting for Trump, you just have Trump derangement syndrome at this point in time, especially if you're informed of what's happening. So don't tell me that you're going to vote for Kamala if you really feel like, I don't have issues against Trump. Bullshit. If Kamala gets in, I just don't know. I don't know where we go from here. It's legit. It's a legit concern. If New York is bad now, just imagine how it's going to be in the next 4 years. If this country is struggling now, just imagine how it's going to be in the next 4 years. They're going to continue to increase, cause more hyperinflation. There's definitely going to be a war. There's just definitely going to be a war. I truly believe that. She's not capable of challenging any political leader. She's not. And no one's going to really take the United States serious. Just not, So I feel like you got to vote for Trump. It's the only one that makes sense. He just makes sense. And a lot of these people don't. I want this election to be over already, because these people and all these social media outlets trying to convince one person is worse, is better than another by just talking bad about the other person. It's like kids spreading rumors about another person in class. Like, come on, grow up already. Yeah, Harris has been a disaster in these last couple months. A disaster, and she gets worse every single day. But you gotta hope that if Trump wins, it'll take time, but I hope he'll improve the economy. I hope he'll protect our borders. I hope that we can not put ourselves in a situation where we get closer to World War III. And then that will just open up the doors for a lot of people to do a lot of things, But yeah, I voted for Trump. I know a lot of Dominicans in New York, at the very least, have become part of the Republican Party. I've been in a couple of these rallies already, and the movement is legit. We even were in the Dominican parade with Dominicans for Trump banners walking in the parade, even though Adriano also pushes us to the back. But it is what it is. It's politics, right? And I truly believe that if you can't wear a shirt like this out in the public, then you're just ashamed of who you really are. Now, that doesn't mean I'm gonna go here and start wearing MAGA hats, right? I don't like the hat anyway. But I would wear certain things, like even if it has Trump's name on it, I'll wear it just cause I think that's the man I'm going with this time around. It doesn't mean I'm marrying a man or love this man. I don't care. I don't have to love him. I just care what he's gonna do, and if I believe in what he's gonna do, I'm good with that. So yeah, vote for Trump. If you disagree, challenge me. Tell me why I'm wrong. Tell me what I said didn't make sense. Tell me how Kamala will improve the economy if her and Biden couldn't do it the last couple of years. Explain to me why I'm speaking in such an arrogant way where what I'm saying is just a lot more nonsense than that, But challenge me. Prove me wrong. Otherwise, just vote for Trump. Let's get this lady out of the office. Let's rebuild what we have, because there's a lot of issues we have, and let's take it from there.